Alright, viewers, hello and welcome to the stream. Today, we were going to have the Team Covenant Aces final match, and what a final match it will be. I wish we had a little bit more diversity in these two lists. They're basically just, sort of mirrors of each other. Not wholly, but fairly so. What the hell? But in terms of the caliber of player, really can't get much better. I talked about this at the end of my last stream, but really, basically, the second and third best players in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Look at the track record of the two. Tex, Dallas Parker, won Team Covenant Open, pretty much the biggest Wave 5 tournament there ever was. It's over 120 initial entrants, beat everyone. He won a store championship or two down in his home area in Cali. And the 2013 world champion runner-up to Paul Heaver. And then Morgan Reid, the Australian national champ. He likewise won a big Wave 5 tournament in Australia. I think they call it like the Australian Day Out or something like that. I see stars. Okay. And he also was a world champion runner-up to, of course, Paul Heaver. So, really, I think you could make a pretty strong argument that these guys really are the second and third best players alive. Sorry about that. That was my cat. She'll be making appearances throughout the show. And really, this game could really be the determining factor of who is the better player. Probably not wholly, but still will give a decent argument to the winner. So let's go ahead and take a look at the list. This is Dallas Parker's bit of a redux of a list that he was running at during the store championship season. Typically, I saw he was running Fell and Shirano, and he's basically swapped Fell for Vader in this instance. I'm not crazy about the Adrenaline Rush. I prefer Predator on Vader, especially with ATC. But Shirano is a tough cookie to crack. That upgrade card you can't see is an engine upgrade. Pretty standard Shirano loadout. You see it a lot. And I think this is going to be a pretty popular list post Raider. I still think Shirano is going to be really popular, but I think a lot of guys consider Vader to be an alpha pilot now. Can never remember what the hell they're called. Nova Squadron. Their latest podcast, they broke down what they feel is the top lists in the meta right now, and defined Vader Chirano once the Raider is dropped as being that top tier 1 list. Either Vader Chirano or Fel Chirano, both very strong lists. You basically have your ace in Vader, and then a guy in Chirano who's basically guaranteed hits with Gunner. He can do a lot of evading, a lot of outmaneuvering, because he's got a 360 arc. He's not concerned about where he's facing. He's got the full range of his dial. He's not going to be stressed from push the limit or anything. And he's got that engine upgrade too, so really makes him harder to lock him down. Now defensively, he's a bit weak if you can get some shots on him, especially get some crits on that big juicy 12 hole. But in terms of these 2-ship builds, this is if you have a 2-ship build, this is exactly what you don't want to face, because that Rebel Captive really will be annoying. And I believe both players have it. Yes, Morgan has it too. So as you can see, pretty identical lists. The Darth Vaders are completely identical, except Morgan has Predator instead of Adrenaline Rush. and they just run Oiken instead of Chirino with Predator instead of VI, and Dauntless. Dauntless got a huge buff with the errata. Basically, if you do a green move, means you don't take the stress from it. A pretty huge buff, I feel like, gonna make it a lot more worthwhile card for only 2 points. I think it's pretty damn good for all you guys, even without Oiken, really, because it'll help you a lot in those fur balls. But definitely on Oiken, any guy running Oiken from now on, I feel like that's pretty much as a must get as something along the lines of like auto thrusters or something. But when it comes to end game, I mean, I'd really be surprised if we don't see Decimator on Decimator, which, you know, is kind of boring. That's why I was saying I was hoping for a bit of a different matchup, but all you guys out there thinking about a regional list, this should give you an idea of what 2 of the best players alive feel like is a pretty strong one. And I know Vader might not be available, but I feel like Fell is pretty comparable. Whisper, we've definitely seen a lot of drawback in the number of players playing that. But if you feel like you're a strong Phantom pilot, then I still think it's pretty good. But I think most guys would agree. And, you know, really, again, 2 of the best players alive, really 2 of the best Phantom players alive. Morgan, to make it through that minefield of players in the World Championship, so many swarms, so many fat falcons, to get through with a Whisper is very impressive. And he did ultimately lose to a Han at the end, but just to make it through that gauntlet of falcons, I believe there were 13 fat falcons in the final 32, which is crazy. So to make it through with a Whisper, and so many lists are just built around defeating you. Just an absolute incredible feat. Star Slinger. Look at all these. No more messages, please. Alright, so I'm going to invite a boy Tyler, Star Slinger, for those of you who know him on Vassal. Let's go ahead and give him a call, get him in on these.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Tyler?
I finally gave up waiting on my game. It's like I saw everyone jump on, and I was like, that is enough. Do you have Lyle's info?
I'm about to add him in my contact list, and then I'll get him in here.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man. Yeah. All right.
I cannot figure out how to add a contact. Nothing's popping up when I say
Here,
search
add people.
Skype directory.
Here, I added him to the call. If you
Okay,
click
there we go.
click the thing.
Nope.
There he is.
All right.
There, Sozen?
Hey, buddy. All right.
All right.
I think we're good to go.
We are good to go. So I just did a bit of monologue broke down the lists and the accomplishments of these two esteemed players, so you guys can chime in with any of your pregame thoughts before we get started.
Did you have like 2 hours to go over all the crap they won?
Well, let's see. Most notably, Morgan, Aussie national champ, 2014 world runner-up. And then he won that. He won a big tournament in Australia in Wave 5. I think they call it like the Big Day Out or something. And then Dallas Parker, he's got a couple of store championships, no doubt. 2013 runner-up, and then, of course, our Team Covenant Open current reigning champion.
I'm so mad about that. I apparently just missed the week that people were posting about the sign up for that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've just been busy, and yeah, and I just log into Team Covenant one day and I was like, oh hey, I wonder, oh hey, they're gonna do an open again, and apparently it's like entrance is closed. Here are the matches.
Yeah, well, I think it sounds like Theorist is going to get the Galactic Cup running once it's over, so.
Yeah. Oh, and I got to avenge my my loss and that.
Yeah. So in terms of the two players here, I think that we're looking at two guys that they're just at the top of the game. I mean, effectively they finished second and third in the world last year. I mean, Tex was one dice roll away from making the finals and beating Morgan in the semis at Worlds. I actually saw that game in person. It was an incredible game. And
So what was the exact end game, Sozen, for those who weren't there?
it was basically Morgan's Whisper with a few ties versus Tex's Tie Swarm. And Tex almost managed to box Whisper in with his ties. Couldn't quite do it. Whisper got out, and then she just went on a kill spree, as she does against TIE fighters. And Tex nearly survived it. It was an amazing bit of flying. Like, Whisper was just on a tear. She was out in the open, and there's some amazing moves by Tex, but he ended up losing by a single TIE fighter in the end.
Mm.
It was very close. And I also say that I went and I was in Sydney about a month and a half ago. And so Morgan met me at his local game store, and we played a game of X-Wing. And then afterwards we went out for a beer and had an excellent time. He's a really cool dude,
Mm-hmm.
and had fun in Sydney. So those are my stories.
I'm sure you got better beer than we gave Morgan when he was here at Worlds.
In terms of matchup here, I'm going to go with VT95 and Vader. I think it's going to win. That was
VT. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
quite the safe bet there, I would have to say, Sozen.
Yeah.
Not really going out on much of a limb there, I'd have to say.
Yeah, I think we're kind of looking at the new meta here in terms of
Yeah, so I wanted to
Yeah,
talk
good-
about that. So Nova Squadron, last episode, guys, break down what you feel is the top tier lists. Is that correct?
Yep, it did.
And you guys feel like just Chirano, Vader now becomes that tier 1, or is it really? Do you feel like Oiken is up there with Chirano as well?
No, I mean, if you look at at least the data, you see that Chernow's is on top. He finished as the second most popular ship in the Store Championship season, right behind. Any guesses?
Sunterfell.
No.
Really?
BBBBZ?
Well, the most popular ship was the Blue.
Oh, sorry, the B-Wing.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Blue in
The
particular.
Blue Squad, of course.
Yeah. And for a while, Chernow was just crushing everyone, but then the Blue made a major comeback in the end. So, I mean, I think that Oiken requires a bit more thoughtful play and some more skill, whereas Chernow just demolishes people. I mean, he's not as hard to play. So I think skilled players can go with something like an Oiken, or even really any of the VT95s. I think they're all good, frankly. I love all the pilots, including the patrol leader. But I think because of Chernow, it's kind of ease of play, we'll continue to see more of him than anyone else.
I'm kind of in this awkward spot because I keep seeing everyone wanting to define the meta. You know what I mean? Which just, I mean, it's a good thing. You want to know what, like, if you're going into a big tournament, what you expect to see.
Mhm.
But like outside of very select few big tournaments, we haven't had a big tournament since Worlds, basically. You know what I mean? We've had a bunch of store championships, and I feel like that's a really like terrible place to take data from, because at most you have 30 people kind of a thing, and the player skill is all across the map, right? I mean, you've got people that are really hardcore players that play all the time, and then you get the guys that like just picked it up at Christmas, right? Like they saw this new cool game and they picked it up, and then they heard that, oh hey, there's a store championship close by, I'm going to go there and I'm going to play.
That's
And
true. But
so
you can't sort of differentiate by the top 8 list or the top 4.
yeah, because it really depends on the tournament, right? Like, I mean, there are times like, I mean, I was at tournaments myself where it was like the top 4 are not lists I would ever expect to see. It just happened to fall that way on that day. You know what I mean? Like this guy got to play someone that was new, and so his list made it a couple rounds farther than we would normally see. So I'm really interested to see with like the first regionals starting to come in, like what happens there.
Yeah, right. Because the assumption there is that you'll get higher quality play. People are driving in.
And it's also along the lines of like you have to play more games, right? Like you're going to be playing 5, maybe 6 games, not 3 and 4 before you get to those top cuts.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of, I feel like, I hate calling it a cheese list, but like there are quite a number of lists out there right now that are semi-popular, like say your triple squint, or there's been some like double hawk Y-wing builds for scum out there that like they just don't have the hit points to stand up. I don't feel like in a big tournament where you can have that one game where you just roll poorly and your crap dies right away.
It's funny you mention that because a triple squint won a regional, I believe, last weekend.
Yeah, I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't feel like it's going to be like this dominant list kind of a thing. I feel like it'll be one of those lists that has its day, and you know, when someone's really flying it well, that kind of thing, and then they're going to go to another tournament the next month, and not even be in the top half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that your point about like trying to define the meta is an interesting one because it's hard to do, and a lot of it's affected by kind of other characteristics like how many minutes are played. I mean,
yeah,
for the
100%.
store championship season, I think we saw a lot of 2-ship lists because they're safe in a 16-minute game.
Sure.
But coming into 75-minute regional, I think the 2-ship lists aren't as good.
Yeah. Well, and you also got to remember, for half of the store championships, if not more, we were on wave 5 only. We didn't have wave 6 in there. So like you got to see all those decimators, all those super dashes, that kind of thing, and you just didn't have auto thrusters yet, and that was a big deal there. You know what I mean?
But I think kind of returning to the meta question, I mean, I think some things are sort of like going to be patently obvious, like when the Raider comes out and all the incredible tie advance hit.
I'm so happy.
A huge rise in the number of tie advance. It just seems categorically true, right?
Sure.
And so we can say in terms of the meta, at least in its observable characteristics, that tie advance will probably feature heavily.
Well, so that actually, so that gets like to another point that I want to bring up, especially like in the meta and that what, you will see ships that show up in very large numbers, right? So like your bee swarms, your things like that. Like in the tie advanced, it's generally speaking whatever is new and shiny shows up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily mean that's good. It's just there's a bunch of like everyone wants to play it, right? I mean that's it's the new stuff in the game. You want to try it out.
Right.
And
I think that's kind of my point about trying to define the meta is that popularity has to be considered as well.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, or shiny newness.
Indeed, shiny newness.
Yeah, personally, I'll be glad when the kind of mint wears off of Dash's coin.
Like what's funny is, so I've talked to people from a lot of different areas and whatnot, and like I saw nothing but super dashes at every store championship. I'm talking like half the lists were dashing something.
Yeah, those things are annoying.
And but like other people were like, I didn't see a single dash, and like out on the West Coast and stuff like that. Like that's just not what they play out there, And so you get that very localized local meta kind of thing where it's just, I know in Central Illinois there's a lot of good dash players, and so you have to deal with that.
Yeah, Blair, what's your meta like in terms of?
First store championship, it was kind of all over. And another thing I want to touch on real quick, Tyler, how you were talking about the store championship season, S&V dropped kind of right smack in the middle of that, and auto thrusters. You got to also remember the Whisper errata also had a pretty big effect on that.
Well, that was after the Store Champion season was done, though.
And it was right about at the end, but
Yeah, some store championships did manage to enjoy the Whisper nerf.
Yeah, it was. That was curious too, because that was supposed to be after the last day. That's why they picked that day. That's why they picked April 15th. Was Store Champs were supposed to be done April 3rd or something like that.
Yeah, but results keep pouring in.
Sure, absolutely.
But anyway, yeah, first one, it was just kind of all over the place. I faced, it was like 4 Bs and Chewy, then a Fat Han and Korin, then Whisper, Chirino, and then Dash, Kian. And then the top cut, I just had 2 rematches. Second one, it was like triple interceptors with ATs, and then I was Fell, Whisper, Vader, or Doom Shuttle, I mean, and then Panic Attack, and then TIE Swarm. And then the last one I went to, I played like, it was a marathon. They did 5 rounds of Swiss and then a cut to 8. And so I faced like 7 unique lists, I think. And I swear to Christ, 5 of them were Rebel Swarm / Control. I never faced 4 Bs and a Z, but so many people had that, the R3A2 Y-Wing with the Ion. Some had BTL, some didn't. And then, Tactician B-Wing, Ion, B-Wing. Those were absolutely everywhere. I was absolutely stunned at the amount of that. So, yeah, it was kind of all over the place. To be perfectly honest, I don't feel like my localized meta is that strong. Like the Seattle area, there's a couple of pretty good players, but there's no one really up on a big level. I feel like someone who's gonna, make a Final 8 run at Worlds. Although, if you guys know Richard Sue, he actually used to live around here, and he made the Final 8.
Yeah.
I know you played him and beat him at Nationals, Tyler, but
Yeah, he came up to the campaign against Cancer.
Saw him and Dom playing amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
that
you
was
went
such
right
a stupid
to
good match.
That game blew my mind.
Yeah, that was a really tight match.
Yeah, Richard nearly took out that swarm. I was because the list that Richard flows like it's a stress variant of Spanish Nationals.
Mhm.
And it basically you just substitute one of the blues with a gold, with the stress bot and the ICT and the title. And I mean, the swarm is kind of the enemy of that list in many ways, but he nearly beat it. Dom had to roll like 3 rounds in a row. He had to have some pretty amazing rolls to survive it.
It was 3 straight, like 3 natural evades with Hell Runner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Wow.
Sick matchup. Yeah, it went to time, and it was like there was like 3 wounded TIE fighters versus like a blue, I think, left or something like that. It was if the last TIE fighter died, he would have had him on points, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was that tight of a matchup.
Yeah. Anyways, you always got Vassal.
Yeah.
yep.
Meta strong enough here.
Yeah, and
But
really, like you were saying, Tyler, we haven't had a good gauge. Really, the only big tournament, and it really wasn't even post Wave 4 because it kind of happened before and after Worlds, was the Team Covenant Open. That's really been our best barometer for what, and even that is kind of dated now because we have
so
S&V,
much that's changed.
and yeah, they did that errata. And one other thing, theorists talked about this is like, there's a reason you see Fell and not Tur. There's a reason you see Korn and not Eton as much. It's because pilot skill matters, and I think that's a big thing of why you see so much Chirino and not as much Oiken. But one thing about Oiken, I feel like with the new errata, I think Dauntless really got a nice buff there. With basically you get a free action from a green move. I think that's pretty huge.
That's not a buff at all. That's how the card reads. Everyone was screwing it up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I did not know that myself, to be honest.
I didn't either. I was playing Hothi on Vassal one night, and he had Oiken out, and was like, "No, this is actually how this is supposed to run." And it's because it was like when they were designing it, they were using the Night Beast timing mechanic, and I was like, "Who the fuck plays Night Beast?"
Yeah.
Like who's ever gonna call you on that? Like where you're just like, "Oh no, you can't," because like Night Beast can't take the free focus action if he's stressed and then reveals the green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in any event, I feel like it really helps. 2 points for, because that was the big thing I felt about Oiken that wasn't so strong is like it's an okay
Blair, if I may
ability.
but the dials have been revealed and the game has started.
Oh, all right. Well, here we go. So
So what's happening here is that we're seeing typical play from Morgan, which is that he will auto block Chirinau into Vader to buy time to figure out where Tex is going. So Matt does this in almost every game.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I am pretty. I'm excited to see like more people experiment with Dauntless now, though. I think it'll be interesting. You'll see that come in a lot more.
Yeah, another point here, by the way, is that he's likely going to do a one forward with Vader, and then keep the block going, and he'll basically just turtle there in the corner and wait for Tex to come at him.
I believe he already did. I believe Morgan has initiative. So
Yeah.
So Vader's already gone. Yeah. Any opinions on this style of opening?
I personally don't mind it because I basically do the exact same thing with my shuttles. Only I use a defender to block it, and then turn out it if it's going to be one of those where I need to see where people are.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people have been. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever been annoyed with this specifically, but like fortressing in general, you'll always hear like the rage on the internets about fortressing, and I'm just like, it's never won anything. Like, if it was a like a really big deal that could shut, you know what I mean? Like it was very powerful, or broke the game in some way, FFG would release something for it, and it just doesn't.
Yeah. I will say that it's an interesting tactic with this type of two-ship opening because it buys you time. Like basically committing to a vector can be very expensive when you only have two ships.
Yeah.
And with a two-ship, I think it's particularly good.
You get the line that you want. Like you get to run the asteroids, you get that lineup really easily.
Blair, what do you think about this style of opening?
well, yeah, it's pretty much what Morgan did exactly in his last game. The big thing now is going to be when he does decide to break the fortress. And I know from watching Tex, he's just going to be extremely judicious with Vader. He's just basically going to try to keep him alive as long as he can. Because really, these two ships, they really have pretty much equal firepower. And so really, Vader is just the glass cannon here. I think you're going to see most players, each of them would ideally like to take out Vader ASAP. So I think you're going to see both players try to be a bit cautious with them. So the big thing is, when is Morgan decide to break his fortress? Is he going to do it this turn, or is he going to keep waiting? And it's going to be interesting the way they got those asteroids, those three in the middle. It looks like Chirinau's heading south. Is Tex going to break those two up, or is he going to bring them down that south alley right there?
Well, I mean, Vader is maneuverable enough that you could probably pick either road. But you're right. Tech's a very conservative player, and in fact, I think we're going to see Vader staying reasonably close to Chirinau.
One thing I will point out, especially with like an opening such as like with what Morgan's doing here, is realistically this isn't that much different than just K turning back and forth for a couple turns.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that's why. Yeah,
that's another reason why I don't mind it in any way.
Exactly. It's really the same thing, in essence. So, I don't think it's really so bad that FFG is going to have to say something. One thing I was reading an interview with Alex Davey. He was saying he really felt like the game was eventually going to have to, when he first created the game, or when it was first created, it felt like they were going to have to put some sort of objective in to prevent players from doing that, just playing super passive. But yeah, it's really not much of an issue at all of players just fortressing up like that, in my opinion.
I will say that it's a little different from the K-turn in that K-turning actually introduces drift in terms of your position, because you're actually moving your ships around, and then once you K, you got to do a green so you can K again. So your ability to kind of maintain like perfect kind of positioning in anticipation of where the attack vector should be is a little altered. It's not as good as this way.
Are you talking? Okay, I kind of get that. I feel like it would be it's worse in person, right? Because when you're physically moving on Vassal, everything being perfect like that's not. You can kind of line that up.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting on this, have you guys thought of any cheeky and fun builds with for the new TIE Advanced pilots?
No.
Vader is just unbelievably awesome.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and actually it was a TC Aces game. It was Dom and someone, I can't remember who, but the thing is, he commented, it's like, sometimes you're not always sure what to do with Vader, though, because if he gets caught in a bad spot, or a spot where he could potentially take a few shots, do you take that lock just because it's so valuable with ATC? Do you turtle up? It seems like sometimes you're not quite sure what you're going to do with him, as opposed to someone like Fell, who it's a little more clear cut with him sometimes. So
Right.
that's one issue I've found with him. But I feel like it's pretty damn strong. I'm kind of interested, or I'm surprised that I haven't seen so many sensor jammer lists
So
in the
that's
TC
that's
Aces. Go ahead.
that's my build coming out like with the new guys. I really want to see. Or so I'm thinking. It's a triple eight, so it's Jax with stealth and auto thrusters and PTL. Storm, the pilot skill 6 TIE Advanced that takes away your range mods at range 1,
Uh huh.
with a sensor jammer and VI to push him to 8, and then Kagi with an engine upgrade, a rebel captive, and also a sensor jammer.
Mm.
So, like, I don't know if it's actually going to be good in any way, shape, or form, but you're going to be shooting terrible shots all game long.
The only thing about
actions.
those lists, though, is it's real predicated on staying in formation, and it's kind of one of those that after like the initial shots, if Jax like gets away from the bulk of the enemy, or if they're running something like three squints, like he's really only gonna be able to go after one if they really spread it out. Is the thing.
Sure.
But I believe wasn't that me
it's
and you, Tyler, that played in round 1 of the
of the
Epic?
Epic game? Yeah.
Oh my god, that was such a pain in the ass. I had Kyle Katarn, and he had motherfucking Karnor Jax, and I was sort of running a list kind of like that, where it was just defense bigs, so I had to jam them all in real tight, and I didn't have a whole lot of 360 to be able to deal with Jax. That was before auto thrusters, I believe, and so he was able to just get behind. He was really the MVP of the game, really. If it had been like anyone else, I probably would have won. But
because I think it shut down like R5P9 on Luke for a couple turns as well. Yeah, no, it was well, and that's basically I've never been able to get in 100 points a list that I like with Kagi and Jax. They're like two of my favorite ships, but it's what else do you put with them, right? Like what's that third? Because you only have like 28 points roughly. And hey, there's another defensive TIE Advanced that dicks with the enemy and their ability to do stuff.
Yep. Well, initially, I haven't really looked at the couple new guys they dropped, but I just feel like the Tempest with that accuracy corrector is really boss now, and I was just thinking once it drops 2 Tempests with a accuracy corrector, Doom Shuttle with Backstabber, and then I've basically got 18 points to do with whatever I like. I was thinking maybe just run a Scimitar with a Seismic to help deal with swarms. I could just run 1 Squint. I've kind of tooled with that just a little bit, but I haven't played with it a whole lot. So
I know they're decent. I just still have nightmares of playing Sozin in the Aces round like 2 or whatever, where I had 3 of them, and I just couldn't do damage for like 4 turns in a row.
Yeah, there was also Morgan and Dom actually played a game, and I watched the first half of it, but it ended up being like a 4-hour game, and it came down to
5 or 5.5. It was brutal.
It was 5.5 hours.
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Started 7 and they finished close to 1.
Wow. And it was basically the last 3.5 hours was just a couple of Tempests chasing around Fell, right?
Yeah, I mean, Dom got it into a Vader plus 3 Tempest endgame versus Fell, and Fell beat him. Fell
Oh,
took it down.
yeah. So that is the concern, is that those accuracy correctors, yeah, they have no hope almost of punching through a guy like Sunter, but overall, pretty strong jousting tips, I feel like now, and got some decent maneuverability too. So, looks
Yeah, I
like,
think the trick is that you pair up those guys with like a Doom Decimator or something,
mhm,
so that when you go up against Vader,
yeah,
they can punch away at the VT-95.
Yeah, they're the perfect point fill in for. Do you remember Dark Templar's list in the TC Open that he ran against? Um, he only played a couple games, but he ran it against Dom for one of them, and it was a Engine Vader patrol leader and then 2 PTL sabers.
hmm,
Yes.
And so you rip the sabers out and throw in tempests or storms
hmm.
with, accuracy corrector, or I mean even um, the advanced targeting computer at that point. You could fit a lot of stuff in there, and it's kind of that. It's that same perfect point fill that I feel like Empire's really needed for a while. That like you don't have 2 ships that fit in that mid 40 point range. Like you can do like 3 ships, or you can do 1 ship, but you don't have 2.
And really for that 21.2, sort of that mid-tier, they really haven't had a whole lot either. It's basically,
It's been the shuttle. Like if you were really
yeah,
good running a shuttle, like you could run that. But outside, if you don't want to run a shuttle, in that, you know what I mean, it doesn't fit with whatever you're trying to do. Yeah, you don't have anything.
it looks like Morgan went for the Fortress once again and texted a 1 and a boost with Chirino coming down that left side, holding Vader back. So quite the slugfest to start it out. I, I hope it doesn't come down to. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Decimator on Decimator. I feel like it's. I really don't see how it cannot come down to this Decimator endgame. Now, it's going to be interesting.
I so I almost want to. So the problem with your decimator shots is you've got Vader, right? So Vader can very easily just focus evade after the turn he sets up his target lock, pretty much every turn, right?
Yep.
So granted they have Gunner, and it's not an auto thruster's issue, so it's not really a wasted shot, but you hate throwing dice and missing twice. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like that's just such because that just puts you so far behind the curve of killing
Mm-hmm.
that stupid 16 hit point ship.
Yeah. So yeah,
And
there
and
definitely is
especially
a chance.
Chirano, if he gets in close, he's gonna want to be shooting Oikin because he's gonna get those free crits in
Yep.
all day long, and that's just gonna be a terrible thing. I actually had a game at our local store. I was playing a buddy of mine, and it wasn't I forget who, or I was probably a Mangler Cannon on Vestry, but it was not only did I injured pilot Oikin to where he lost his ability to bump, but then I gave him is it stunned pilot to where
Stun
if he runs
pilot.
into people, he takes damage.
Yep.
So like I reverse Oikined him.
Huh. That's good. Well, yeah, those Chirino definitely has the ability to do some work on Oiken here. Once he strips those shields, it's just going to be basically guaranteed crit every time.
Right, right.
If it's something bad, that could be big trouble for Morgan. So it looks like
Okay.
he's breaking it.
Yeah. Well, he left the
Oh, he did
decimator
leave
still.
Oiken, yep. Still taking it pretty slow.
This will be interesting because if he banks left with Oikin next turn and then hard lefts with Vader, they'll still be in a semi formation.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sweep around.
Tex is more or less committed to where he's going.
Oh, it was my buddy Mike that I was actually playing. He just texted me that I was mocking his pain. I'm sorry. So I will say, and this I'm going to go back to our earlier talk about the different meta and whatnot, and with the store championships being once again I feel like a terrible place to look at like what's going to be popular and what's going to actually work, right? The first store championship that I won, the final match was I was flying stealth auto thruster PTL Fell with 5 obsidians, and my opponent was running VI PTL auto thruster Tycho with 5 Talus.
Mm.
So it was like this 100% mirror matchup. Oh, and he also had a proton rocket. Like that was the other 3 points he had. So, and basically the match came down to the fact that he missed the proton rocket.
Mm.
He took the shots without a target lock because he didn't feel like I wasn't going to let him. He basically K-turned while not stressed, and then boosted into range 1 and focused. And I just didn't see that coming. It was a really good move, and then just didn't roll well on the shot, and I was able to avoid it. And then I ignored Tycho for a while and killed some Talos with Fell. You know what I mean? Like Fell is better at that than Tycho is at killing TIE fighters.
Yeah.
But I don't expect to see Tycho and 5 Talos showing up at major tournaments normally. It just happened that both of those style lists work really well when there's a bunch of Mangler cannon dashes and heavy laser cannon dashes in the field.
Certainly. So, when you're looking at Major Juggler, does it talk? So it talks about what ships are most popular. Is there any data on the most popular pilot skills?
No, but JT Funk has some of that data. That's actually on my backlog to kind of break out the data by pilot skill to show. I mean, the theory is that we're going to see a shift away from the low PS, high PS kind of polarized environment and over to a more immediate type environment.
Yeah,
because the Whisper.
I looked at something. I can't remember where it was, but it read out that 2 is unequivocally the most popular, and it's really not even close. And then it goes like 9, 1, and then it kind of starts to even up. But there's so many 2s, because like you said, the Blue Squadron pilot, the most popular, and then you got so much more. You got, what do you got? You got the shuttle.
Yeah, the OGP's in there for sure.
Bandits.
Cool.
So
yeah, lots of bandits. They're golds as well. I mean, it's all the rebel small ships, right?
But now with the Raider, I think we're gonna start seeing some Tempests even in there too now. So I feel like that talk about Talas and Obsidians. I'm kind of been in the mindset of whenever I'm going Swarm now, if I can get that boost, and I haven't really play tested that a whole lot, but I feel like I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on whether you think it's worthwhile, because it's really, I feel like for value, those Talas and Obsidians, for 1 point, that's a pretty good value, I feel like, and especially to get over that 2. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree that. I mean, the question is, I think really more, do you want to be a blocker? Do you want to play a blocking game? In which case, you've got both options. You can go with the Academy pilots and block all those annoying B-Wings. Or you can go PS3 and shoot first.
Yeah, and I think there was a post on, I don't remember if it was a post about swarms, but it kind of turned into that. And I think Theorist was saying, I can't remember who Swarm was he was talking about, but if he feels like that's the optimal one, it was like something, I think it actually was something like what Tex ran at Worlds, is like a Black Squadron with Draw Their Fire, and then like 2 academies for blockers, and then the rest Obsidians, then How with the whole upgrade, I think is what it was.
Yeah, this is a Wave 1 list.
Yeah, but yeah, and pretty ideal too, because you get those academies out first to jam them up, and then typically you're going to have that pilot skill boost and some good. That Black Squadron with Draw Their Fire, and then the whole upgrade on Howl is so awesome, I've found. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still I try to run PTL on Howl more often than the hull, because I feel like if I can get it 2 turns if I can get the evade focus for 2 turns kind of a thing, it pays for itself more. But yeah, I've definitely seen the hull be better there, because I've definitely gotten myself killed by stressing myself when I shouldn't have and things like that. There's always that give and take there. But it's funny that and I think it's a kind of a testament to the game design that like we saw Tex was basically running a Wave 1 list at Worlds, and so was Nick Jones, who was top 32 as well, and lost to Paul Heaver in the first round. So, who knows how far he could have gone had, he not matched that up with Hal Runner, Backstabber, 5 Obsidians.
Yeah.
Like, no upgrades, no nothing else. Like, here's my 7 TIE fighters. Let's go play the game.
Yeah, Dom actually brought a TIE fighter list to Campaign Against Cancer in South Bend and took first in a 64-player field with Hal Runner, Hull Upgrade, PTL, 3 Obsidians, 3 Academies.
Yep. So it's they always call it the shark of X-wing, and it's kind of there for a reason, right? Like,
and it was what, I can't remember, was it Keith Wilson, the UK national champ, or is that wrong? He lost to Morgan in the Final Four at Worlds as well, and I believe that was just a Wave 1 TIE Swarm list as well. I don't think he had any upgrades on it post that.
Yeah, I think he actually lost to Tex in the top 8.
Well, who was running the Swarm that lost to Morgan, and wasn't it the Final Four match?
No, I think
yeah, that was Tex.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, like, Tex took down Keith's Swarm, and then the next round, he got his matchup against Morgan.
Okay. Yeah, and the other thing about TIE Swarms too is Wave 4 or 5. The Whisper was really kind of the thing you were scared of with the Swarm, because your really only method was blocking, and against a real crafty Whisper player like a Morgan Reid, they're going to be able to anticipate that coming. That was basically why a big reason he was able to make it so far, is that guys kept going for that trap, and he was able to keep anticipating it and getting away. And I feel like the Swarm, that was the one thing we were really scared of, was Whisper, because with those 2 dice, it's just hard to punch through that. And now with the errata of Whisper, I feel like Swarm's really gotten even a little bit stronger, because you don't have to worry about Whisper so much.
I guess in a way, on the counter argument to that was, there was a whole number of Swarms that were in the top 32, and if you talk to those guys, they played against a number. It wasn't like they just missed Phantoms. You know what I mean? Getting there in their 7 games, like, they all had Phantom matchups.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
That they all won.
Uh-huh.
And it's just one of those things that I feel like the really good Swarm players just evolved in the sense that, like, they just figured out how to play against it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good matchup, right? Like, it's not like I wouldn't even say it's at a 50-50 if you're equal skill level. It's maybe 60-40, but you typically have that. I mean, other lists have that as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you bring like a Rebel Swarm of some kind, and you see a couple little interceptors out there, like, you want to hate life as you're trying to pin down, Soontir or Jax, anybody like that. So I don't ever feel like it was I don't feel like it was as bad as people want to make it out to be.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that it was ever good. It wasn't a fun matchup, but at the same token, like, I for a long time, especially before the errata, and then people defending the errata, it was there was no way to win against that list with list X, Y, or Z. That's just
But overall, did you guys feel like the errata was needed or deserved, or do you think like the game? Do you think the game is better with it?
I say 100% no. It was not needed in the slightest.
Yeah, I think the real problem was that the defender was broken.
Yeah, right. He was so good.
They should have nerfed it. I mean, that's what Tyler's been telling me.
And not in my defender love aside, I feel like or I think I talked to you. I think I talked to Lyle about this at CAC, but the Phantom was the biggest predatory ship in the game based on skill value, right? So, like, if me and you match up and you're a better player than I am, and you bring a Phantom and I don't bring a Phantom counter, I am hosed. Like, I'm not going to win. But if we're of equal skill and I bring a well-built list and you bring a Phantom, and my well-built list doesn't need to have a Phantom counter in it, it needs to not be 6 Hawks, right? Like, I can still win that matchup. Like, I'm not going to win it every time, but, like, there are things you can do, there are methods you can, in how you play and how you fly, you can win that. And I feel like there was a large portion of the X-Wing community that just didn't want to put the time in for it. And that also go. I mean, that also is the same thing with the like player skill, right? Like, the people that are really good at this game that consistently. I mean, we've got Morgan and Tex that we're watching right now. They're playing again. Guess what? They've been in the championships of multiple tournaments. Why? They probably play this game pretty frequently. You know what I mean? They get lots of games in. And I feel like when you get lots of games in like that, you start learning how to play that.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's on.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
and
We're gonna see
Morgan goes
That's
super aggressive, and it looks like he caught Dallas. I don't think Dallas expected that. That's going to be a pretty crucial bump.
yeah, it is.
Agreed.
Because Vader has the target lock on him as
Yep.
well. And that is okay. Who has which Vader? Is Morgan's the one with Predator, or is Morgan's the one
Morgan
with
has Predator.
Okay, so that's an even worse shot then.
Mhm.
So he's going to be taking a Predator
Yep.
with no actions. Granted, he's got the 2 shields. It's not the worst thing in the world. I don't know if he's going to want to pop his adrenaline rush like next turn, like this early. I don't play with one-shot cards frequently enough to know like when to use them.
It's going to be dependent. If Chirno just goes like too forward, I think he's going to be right blocking that 4K,
Yeah, for
so
sure. Yeah,
he
he
wouldn't be
will.
able to. And that really hurts too now because Morgan. I'd be surprised if Morgan doesn't just ram him with Wiccan. I think that's almost a given that he's going to do that. So really, Vader is going to be. If he takes a couple here, could be in a bad way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the Wiccan's value really come through now.
Now, with Vader taking that evade, I think probably going to see Tex just go for Oiken here, I'd imagine.
He's got the range one as well.
Yep.
See, it's interesting. Like, I would, at this point, maybe I throw the dice. I'm like, well, if I can get lucky, I get a couple good shots on Morgan's Vader.
So
Sit up.
here's a question for you, and I've thought about this multiple times, but I don't run gunner ships enough to really think it through. So you've got Rack in a pretty good position. He's gonna get free damage on Oiken. Do you take the pot shot at Vader first, and if you miss and don't burn the evade token, then throw it back on Oiken for your second to get the guaranteed damage?
That's very interesting because. But the only thing is, his Vader will have to shoot first. Because I get where you're like, so you could strip the evade for Vader, but since Texas
No,
Vader.
Rack's at 10.
Yeah, Rack is at 10. He's going to shoot before Vader.
Yeah.
So
He
then,
locked Oiken.
if you're talking about you want to strip that evade, well, that really doesn't really do a whole lot for you unless you're stripping it. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I'm also, if you strip the evade, then you fire at him again.
Yes.
If you don't strip the evade,
Yes.
then take the free damage.
So it looks like he's not going to do it, but I get what you're saying, and yeah.
I don't know if that's the right call. It's just one of those.
Yes.
Armchair quarterback sit back and go. Maybe you do that.
I feel like I probably would have because, I mean, if he takes it, well, you got to hit on Vader, and you still get to. You get to keep your target lock on Oiken free, but then yeah, interesting. That would definitely be. I feel like you can make an argument either way on that, but
Yeah. Right. I don't know which. I don't. Like I said, I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just curious. Because I was actually running a Defender Decimator for a while. And basically, with the beefed up points to the Defender, you don't have room for the Gunner on board. So I didn't have these hard questions. Because my wave 5 wave 5 like meta counter list was actually a VI Rack with a Rebel Captive and engine upgrade, and then Rexler with a hull upgrade and Lone Wolf. Because Rack could go chase down Fell or Whisper or anybody like that, and Rexler could just tear through the other Decimator.
Wow, he rolled it. He went.
Yeah, he went for Chirno. Interesting.
I'm surprised at that.
I am too.
I guess maybe he was just concerned that Vader would get some good evades because he was at range 3, but he's got the lock.
What was Oiken's action? Does Oiken have a target lock
He
out there? Somewhere?
boosted.
Oh, okay.
And maybe just Morgan does not want to split fire, and he's going to take this chance to strip rack down.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
snap.
a good roll.
Is that naked?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was naked.
If that's a bad crit.
Yeah.
This is going to leave a mark.
So this is one of those things where you in your, what was that? Minor explosion. Okay, that's not the worst crit in the world.
Yep, you'll live with that. Dodges too.
I feel like the Decimator on Decimator fights, the two battleships passing in the sea as they just slug it out. I mean, it almost always comes down to the crits, right? Like who gets the shitty crit.
Mm-hmm.
They both have gunner, so blinded pilot doesn't really mean anything. But like, you get the weapon malfunction.
That's probably the big one. Yeah. Either that or injured pilot, I would say.
Yeah, injured pilot for sure. And granted, the minor explosions, direct hits. I mean, you get enough of those. They cut through you pretty quickly, so that's always a pain.
You know, one that would potentially suck would be if you got a thrust control fire, because you're already going to be stressed from Rebel Captive. That situation will now, and this came up in Morgan's semifinal match against Kinetic. It came down to an 88 against Oiken and a wounded Vader. The 88 did a Segnors. The stress, he had a shot on Oiken. He decided not to take it. You don't want that dreaded double stress. He didn't want a double stress.
Yeah. On like 80 on Gs or anybody that's like PTL squints, things like that. That's a terrible thing to deal with.
Yep.
On like especially Cherno, like pile on the stress. I don't care. I don't need actions. I have a mini focus for a feat or for his passive anyway.
Yep.
And gunner if you really roll badly.
And Predator too. Well, not for.
Yeah, that's Predator.
Not for.
So they're kind of both
Texas.
in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
Like, Rear Admiral has his passive, and then Oiken's got the Predator.
So yeah, I feel like Oiken has got to go for the ram here on Vader. The one forward. Then the question: do you want a Dauntless there? Because again, you take that stress. If you decide to fire at Rack, which kind of got that indication that he will, since he went for him with both those guys there. Like we just said, it'd be that double stress. So
yeah,
I feel like Oiken's got a ram here. Don't you guys agree or not? Go either way.
I would ram here for sure. I don't know about Dauntless. I mean, he has it on there, so he's planning on using it. You know what I mean? So that might not be. Might as well, because at the same token, he realistically he's probably going to want to shoot Vader because Vader is not going to be able to get out of range one of him. But then again, I don't know. He's already got into hull on Cherno, so he might want to burn that as quickly as he can.
This is where that initiative bid by Tex, he hopes it pays off for him, having his Vader move last.
Right.
Morgan.
That's the thing, right? So if Morgan burns Rear Admiral down, I mean he's probably trading Oiken for him, and so then he's still in this end game where the other Vader moves after him. He doesn't shoot quite as well, but
here in this spot, what are you thinking? I feel like got a kind of one left bank with Morgan. I mean, that's kind of predictable, but what else could you really conceivably do if you're going to ram with Oiken anyway?
Oh, with Vader?
Yeah. What else can you do?
I would do that just because it sets up nicely for... granted, so Rack is going to just burn past him, right?
Yeah.
He's going to do a 3-forward or a 3-forward screen on that, right?
I believe it is.
Which that's going to be a pain, but you should, in theory, have a shot on I'd almost 3 hard turn out with
Yeah,
Vader.
and I think that's what Tex
Like
is
up.
thinking about. I think he's thinking if I he's thinking about that K some. Do I K and burn the rush? And
Yeah,
maybe I can do
true.
something kind of fancy here, but ultimately I think he's just gonna have to do a 3 left turn just to get out of Vader's arc.
So here's an interesting question on how, because once again, I don't typically use single shot cards. Um, so I'm looking up the exact wording on Adrenaline Rush, like when you actually get to use it. When you reveal a red maneuver, you may discard this card to treat that maneuver as a white. Okay. So my question there being, depending on where he put Rack, if there was a question on if he would bump or not with Vader, would he has to basically use the card first before he figures out if he bumps. Does that make sense?
Yes. I believe so, because it says when you
Yeah, when
reveal.
you reveal. Yeah, it's not after you
So,
complete.
yeah.
So we will get to see here. Looks like they're both set. This will be an exciting turn. Or at least this will be... Okay. He smashes. So this is actually really funny because I beat Morgan in the regular season of Aces, and he
Hmm.
was running a very similar. He was running a Chirno Vader,
Hmm.
and it came down to my Soontir on his Vader,
Hmm.
and I had given him initiative.
Hmm.
I won the roll, so I got the choice.
Hmm.
And he said he's never taking Vader without VI again. And yet here we are, and he's running
Well,
Vader without VI.
supposedly, according to Kelvin, he went back and forth about
Yeah, he said
17 times or
something like
something.
that. Yeah. So
So,
I got to visit Kelvin back right before Easter. I
uh,
was driving through his through Kansas City, and I crashed with him for the night, and we were talking about that and everything that was getting sent back and forth. Who wanted to play what? Okay, so he's looking like he's wanting to block Rack up while
yep.
at the same time protecting himself.
Ooh, 5 forward.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Does he just
Oh,
well,
fit?
he can boost out of it, so actually that's not too bad.
Is he is he touching?
I don't think so.
no, he's clear.
Okay, he is just clear. Man. Okay.
That's pretty huge.
Yeah, that would have been bad news bears had he bumped.
Wait, is he gonna stay there and take a shot?
I don't
It,
know. Well, so
he's taking actions.
yeah, he's got two. So he target locks him. That's
He's
fine.
saying he's gonna lock, yeah. He's gonna boost.
Okay.
Okay, no.
That would have been suicide. I feel like because he would have got a shot on Vader, but I can't imagine he would have survived there after a
Yeah.
Vader and Oiken shot.
Yeah. Well, so the only reason I can feel like he would have sat there is if he was wanting to prevent Rack from bumping in. So Rack could have taken the range one shot. He would have used Vader to block him back
Yeah, I
further.
get that, but
But
I
yeah,
don't
no, I don't.
I don't think Tex wants to shoot at Vader. Is
Yeah.
the thing. Like we said, he's kind of already committed to Oiken, and Vader's got an evade too, so
So interesting note. Oiken didn't dauntless.
he did not. Yep. The only thing about this though, is I feel like right now Morgan's winning, and after all the dice of this round, I feel like he's still going to be in the lead. But positionally, I think Tex has got a bit of an advantage here because Oiken's kind of in a bad spot.
Yeah, he's
'Cause,
going to take a while to get it
yeah,
back
it's going to
around.
take him a while to work back into it, and Morgan's Vader, there's no way he's going to be able to get a shot on anyone next turn. Just going to have to bank or hard turn out of there,
Yeah.
as opposed to Texas Vader could easily 2 left turn and boost to get a shot on Oiken, or just 4K and then boost focus and get a nice shot on Morgan's Vader,
Well,
probably.
so I feel like Morgan's Vader is gonna just turn and burn, so he's gonna do like a 3-bank, and then maybe even engine to get even farther.
Uh-huh.
And Oiken's gonna do the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
they've had the first pass, they're just gonna create space, re-meet up in the corner.
Yeah, I agree. And also I agree with you, Blair, that the positional advantage is actually with Tex now, which is
So now here's the big roll. Can Rack get a crit through?
Yeah.
And will it be a big issue? Because he's got the pilot skill shot, right? Like, so even though he's down on hull, he wins the shooting war here.
Yep.
If there's any justice, he'll get like a natural 4 hit.
Right. That is not what he needed there.
Oof.
No focus.
Yeah, that's brutal.
No focus shown.
And really, that's pretty ideal if you're more, because you had no crit, and then also you can activate Isan next turn now.
Yep.
That was like the perfect roll for Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan's tracking his damage cards at the top. Oh, jeez. Oh, it doesn't matter. He'll just gunner it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Predator. Yeah, there you go. 3. That's
one hull.
What's that?
Just you got 3 hits, sir.
Yeah, 3 hits. Yeah.
2
down to 7. It's almost halfway through. Or no, he is. He's over halfway through.
And he's got the evade with the Admiral.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he does. So it's only 2. So he's exactly half.
Yeah. Unfortunate for Tex.
That's why you bring a gunner to a decimator fight. Those rolls.
Yeah, I played the Adepticon. I mean, you were there at the Saturday tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Rear Admiral with Gunner and Vader.
Okay.
A bunch of people were flying interceptors with auto thrusters.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
What else did you run with it?
Center.
Okay, yeah, sure. That's pretty funny. I still can't believe I won the 2v2 with was it Joe? Is that the guy's name?
I don't remember.
Basically, there was a 2v2 teams tournament, so it was 75 points apiece. Or so it was 150 point teams tournament that no one player could have more than 80 points. So you could do like an 80-70 if you wanted to shift points slightly to make things fit. And my twos partner, so I was going to drive up Saturday. This is up in the suburbs of Chicago, and I'm in central Illinois, so I'm like a good 3 hours out from there. And I ended up I was going to originally go up for the dogfight tournament, which Sozin was talking about, which was on Friday. And I had work stuff come up, and then I was like, okay, I'll just go up for the day on Saturday. And one of my buddies that I normally play with down here is going to come up with me, and it's a twos tournament, so we'll go up there and see what happens. Well, he got called into work that Saturday morning, so like the night before, and so I just posted on like the Chicago X-Wing group. It's like, hey, I need a partner for the twos. Is anybody going to be up there and want to play and doesn't have anybody to play with? And one of the local guys from Chicago was like, oh, I'll be there, and I don't want to play Imperial Assault because that was going on at the same time. And so we met up at like 9 in the morning, I think. I think I got up at like 5:30 to drive up there and hashed out a list and then ended up winning the whole thing.
Wow. So was it were you guys allowed to look at and talk about each other's dials?
So they did let us. We could look at each other's dials. We talked about that because you could always talk about your dials. You just for whatever reason you're not supposed to look at each other's dials. Which I don't know. I guess that's kind of weird. But I think that that heavily helped us and the reason we won because we ran Jackson Soonter with Stealth Auto and PTL, and then 5 Academies Hal Runner with PTL. So we had a 6-pack TIE swarm that, like, I had 3 TIE fighters, he had 3 TIE fighters, but we ran them in formation and were able to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas if, granted, I mean, it's generally a TIE swarm flies right where you think it's going to go, right? You don't typically get like, oh man, they did a 3 bank there instead of a 2 hard turn or something like that. But nobody else that we were playing against really flew. It was very much like, here is your list, here is my list kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've really been wanting to do one of those. I talked to a guy at my local store, and he told me to email him some info about potentially doing that, but that's something that sounds really fun to me. I've been wanting to do something like that for a while.
One of the things we've been doing locally down here at a couple of the different more, so it's not like X-Wing events, but at like miniatures tournaments and things like that that are going on, or gaming cons and that kind of stuff, is we do random pair 50-point teams for charity. So whatever charities associated with the events. So you bring a 50-point list, and you will randomly get paired with another 50-point list, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Empire and Empire. Like, you could get a Scum or you could get a Rebel list, and you only play one game each. Like, and then you switch partners every round. So, and it's always participation prizes. It's not like you're you don't get, like, they don't track your wins to like win something, right? But it's interesting to see what like someone else brings, and then like suddenly you have like Lando on your team giving you extra actions when you're Scum, and you're like, wait a minute. So that's been a lot of fun too.
All right, so Oiken just gonna go 2 forward. He goes 2 forward and stashes a lock on Chirano. And looks like Tex is gonna save that adrenaline rush and just do a 3 left turn here.
Yep. Maybe a boost.
So what was Vader's second? Vader boosted, didn't he?
Morgan's Vader boosted. Yes, he boosted and evaded. Okay. And I think Chirano's gonna have a good chance to get a hit on him here.
Yeah.
He takes a lock in with Gunner. And I think what Tex is thinking about, he's thinking, well, if I boost, I can get a nice range 1 or range 3 shot on Oiken. He's already got that lock on him, so he can boost and just focus or evade. And I think, but he's worried if he's going to get a shot.
I'm curious if Rack's actually going to have a good shot, because he's probably going to be range 3. So he's got to go.
He's going to be range 3, but with the focus and his ability and Gunner,
he's not going to have his ability at range 3 though.
You're right. I'm sorry.
He's just going to have Gunner.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that Oiken actually should have an evade token on her, shouldn't she?
Start of combat.
Start of combat, yeah.
Start of combat.
But if I'm Tex, I go for it here, I think, because at range 3 through that rock, if I can take an evade after I boost, I'm probably safe.
Yeah.
And
he has Predator on the shot too, so I mean that's...
Well, Morgan has Predator.
Oh, that's right.
Tex does not, but still,
right.
he, with that crit, that ATC, I would go for it and just hope.
And you're range 3 with the rock for defense, so you're probably not going to take anything.
I think he's just thinking, if I boost...
He's probably trying to line up what is where he wants everybody to be in the following turns as well. So there he goes. He does it. And really, if that's
gonna be close.
Yeah, that's really tight on range. I'm also curious as to what he's doing with Rack here. Looks like just a 2 forward. Okay, never mind. That's not nearly as fun. It's like if he's cutting up, then Vader might be in the way, or he'd be in the way in the following turn, kind of thing. I think he's going to be out based on that target lock check. But maybe not.
He was out.
No, he was out. Rack was out. I'm curious about Vader.
Oh.
But I think Vader's still going to be out. He's up, but he's farther back. This is one of the frustrating things when I realize that these are like 2 of the 4 people I beat in the Aces regular season are playing for the championship.
Well, at least you did well against the top players.
Right. I just couldn't beat anybody else.
When's your
I don't know. He just posted it today, so I got to talk to Hothi. That's going to be an interesting matchup.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I got lucky because basically I played Tex when he'd already punched his ticket, so he just ran some. What did he? I think he just ran that 2 Hawk Cavo list you were
Yeah.
talking about, Tyler. And so I was running like I had like Vader in 5 academies, so I had a pretty
Oh.
competitive list. So kind of lucked
You know,
out.
I've played the two Hawk Vader lists or the two Hawk Cavill lists.
Uh-huh.
So Cavill, Torkel, Palab, and it does some interesting things.
Uh-huh.
Like I feel like I don't play it well enough yet because there's been times where I've been like, after a game, I'm like, okay, I probably shouldn't have done that. Like needing to just like floor it with all 3 of them after the initial joust instead of trying to turn because
Mm-hmm.
you're freaking Y-wings and a Hawk, they don't exactly turn, right? Um, but it's led to some interesting matchups and the great. So I have probably 4 new players. What crit was that? Oh, he's choosing whether or not to start. Um, and watching them play against that build has been very interesting.
I think Gunner's about to go off.
Yeah, so that's what Morgan's
Yeah, so
thinking
he's
about.
thinking about it.
And really, I think odds, like the safe bet would be to just take the shield, but odds dictate with 3 dice unmodified, you're gonna get 1.5 hits. 4 greens unmodified, you're gonna get 1.5 evades. So, statistically speaking, he should
It's not quite 1.5. It's a little less, right?
for the 4 greens.
Is it 4? No, yeah, it's 12. No, that is. Yeah, it's 1.5, 1.5. Yeah, so he did.
So-
Oh, yeah, that was a wash. They both rolled high.
Yeah, Tex, the frustration continues. And does his Vader have a shot now?
It's gonna be close. I think he's just out.
Yeah. Just out.
Oh, sucks.
But yeah, I like the double hawk Y-wing just for the fact of watching my new players like try to think about how they want to deal with it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yep.
like there've been like a couple guys like would just refuse to focus.
Yep.
Like they're just it's like nothing but barrel rolls. Like all my time. Nope. Not giving you a chance to steal anything. Like you don't get actions, I don't get actions. I'm done with it. Like that's the game we're gonna play. Okay. And especially after somebody plays it like the second time or whatnot, this is like the first time they don't know what I'm going to do with it, and I just like 1 forward for 3 turns in a row because I'm just stacking focus tokens up. And then like the second game, they're like 5 forward and boost. Like we're getting this on turn 2. You don't get all those tokens like you had last time.
But yeah, so we were talking about state of the meta. One thing that's I've kind of talked about. I actually asked Morgan this question, and he said he feels like SNV on the whole just doesn't quite match up with Rebels and Imperials. And Sozin, you feel like the 88s is really the ideal list? That's at least so far before Wave 7 drops. That you feel like that's pretty much the best competitive list that SMV can feel right now, as far as you think?
Yeah, I guess if you pinned me down and made me pick one, I'd probably pick robots.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. If Auto Thruster Squints can just kill off the dash lists for me, to where no one wants to play him anymore, I won a store championship with Kath and Emin, like Proxmine Emin.
Mm-hmm.
And I should not have won the store championship. I got really, really lucky in the final round because it was HLC Dash Corrin.
Mm.
And not only did I basically got free damage on Corrin for a turn with Kath, like she just happened to get a shot on him.
Mm.
And then the following, and take 2 of his shields. And the following turn, Emin put a Proxmine on him, and the kid rolled 2 hits and a crit and killed him before he could green move and get his shield back.
Wow.
And then after Emin proceeded to just die horribly without doing anything to Corrin, or to a dash, right? just never had a chance of getting a shot on him. He trapped himself on a corner for one turn, like he tried getting out of arc and just barely didn't. And Kath was able to strip his shields, and then on the following shot, because he had to turn out of the corner kind of a thing, I crit him to PS0 and took his pilot skill away.
Wow.
And PTL. Like, it was one of those fluke, he pulled 2 of the, like, 6 cards that would screw him.
Yeah.
And, but, like, that's the matchup that I can't beat with Kath Emmon. Like, most of the other matchups, I feel like I have a fighting chance. And they can do cool things, too. Because you have tons of prox mines, and it's great.
Especially now with the munitions upgrade coming in.
Yeah, so that one's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will.
Because you can't get the so on Emmon specifically, I feel like you're either going to run triple prox mine or double proton.
Yep.
Right? And I don't know which one I like better.
Yeah.
Because I was running 3 prox mine, experimental interface, and recon spec, so that I could get the focus to live. And if I'm running the proton bombs, I don't know what I run. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what I do at that point.
Well,
all right.
I don't know. I was feeling like Tex was in a good spot, but now I'm not so sure because Rack is kind of trailing here, and Vader's kind of going into the den of the tiger. Is that what I'm looking for? But he's out there in front, and Loiken and Vader are kind of staring him down. Now he's thinking, what do you think he's thinking? Is he thinking about boosting to maybe get a little pot shot on Loiken, or is he thinking about boosting right to maybe kind of get away a little bit and circle back around him to buy Rack some time to work back into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Boost right. I mean, so you can't just wade into the maw of that tiger, as you say. It's going to get his head bit off if he heads in.
So I'm curious, because if he sits there, he can 2 right turn next turn, and is fairly safe, because Vader's got to unstress, and Oiken's got to hard turn. And he can focus evade. For Oiken might have a range 3 shot on him, and that's going to give Rack time to turn. And then on the following turn, he can do a 2 left, and then boost to kind of come back around.
Right, yeah.
So he's gonna, you know what I mean? He plays for 1 turn, or even like he 2 hard turns right, and then he boosts left to kind of make the.
Right. Actually, right. You're right, Tyler. Because if he does a boost now, it limits his options.
Yeah, he can't do it next turn.
His angle will be wrong.
Right.
Because that asteroid's in the way of a hard turn. I guess he could boost and barrel roll, but
sure, absolutely.
Well, maybe not.
Well, yeah, I think he'd have a barrel roll left if he did.
No. I think you're right. Leave him here.
But knowing Tex, he's going to think about this for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the more cautious people with his ace pilots that I've ever met. And that's saying something, because I never let Soontir get shot if possible. Yeah, we've got people in the chat saying people rather skip an action than give with 3 and 4 ships than give 1 token, and it's so true. Although I was last week I was playing Will, who you met at CAC Sozin, and he was running a dual PTL Brobots list, and he was just focus evading every turn, and he was just like, I'll let you pick what token I don't have, like I'll make you make that choice. Which ended up being a tough choice a lot, because it's like I want the evade token, right? Because it's just a good token to have on a Hawk. But I don't get to keep those. So if I steal the evade and he doesn't shoot me, it doesn't do anything for me. Ugh. I feel like Scum needs to just be explored more too. Especially after Wave 7, them getting 2 new ships. That's gonna be a pretty big boon.
Yeah, the flying Jawa.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Houndstooth. Houndstooth, I think, is an incredible new ship. I'm
yeah.
very excited.
It's I'm pretty excited for it. I'm excited that they have the whole like lifeboat ship Z95 mechanic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um, like strictly in the sense that like not for the Houndstooth in any way. Like I don't care about like I don't care in that regard as much, but it leaves us open to if they continue releasing epic ships to us seeing an epic ship that can drop like TIE fighters or something,
Yeah.
which I think would be awesome.
Yeah. Like thematically, I think
Right.
that's a great idea. I'm really glad they came out with that.
My biggest question about it right now is how many points do you get for killing the Houndstooth? Like, do you get the 50 points it costs and then you get 6 points for killing the pup ship? Or do you get 56 points for killing the pup ship? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't think they've announced that, have they?
No, they haven't. Like, that's just that was the first place my mind went, is it's like a 6 point upgrade that you might not use in some games, but at the same point, with MOV, with having to build around MOV as much as you do, um, is that one of those it's a 6 point investment to give you 4 extra hit points to run away with to save on your 56 point ship kind of a thing.
Right.
Yes, and Scum getting a PS9 is stupid.
Yeah, especially it's a pilot I'm not familiar with. I guess some kind of EU thing going on there.
Yeah. That's a lot of people have kind of expressed their slight discontent with the fact that they finally do get one, and it's
Not
this,
Boba.
yeah, this guy no one's really heard of.
Well, my big thing, like, you can, yeah, I mean, you could make a pilot or whatever. I mean, that's fine. But it's more along the lines of when they initially released Scum, they were like, they're gonna have to fight with a different advantage. They're not gonna be
Exactly.
able to abuse pilot skill.
Yeah.
And now we have a guy that can abuse pilot skill.
But still, there's certain things you have to compromise when you're making a game, and like it's nice to say thematically this is what S&V is going to be, but I mean that's what they said about Rebels at the start is like, oh, they're all going to be about synergy. Well, they're not really so much about that anymore. I mean, so you feel like they had to get a 9 eventually.
Yeah.
But but the other thing is like the ship on itself, it's really just an X-wing, really. So I was looking at it like I just really don't think it's going to get a whole lot of play, to be honest.
100% depends on that dial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you've got a, so it's the same manufacturer as the Seek interceptor, right? So if you've got a crazy like a Signor's loop of some kind
Yeah.
of a thing, you know what I mean? Like on that, so
That would be cool.
that could really set it apart. The other big thing is, I mean, I'm sure you guys have been reading what everyone theorizing and whatnot is if it's 20 points.
Mhm.
Like if the base model at PS1 is only 20 points,
Right. Then they would have
um,
basically fixed the pricing for it.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and you can get 5 of them on the table. Like that's a dangerous list.
Yeah. But then if they do that, if they do that, I feel like the base pilot would have to be pilot skill 1 because then they're putting the X-wing. I feel like the rookie on the whole is really one of the more underused ships, if not the. And so they're really making it like they have to do something about the X-wing soon because I feel like if you compare a Tempest with the new title, it's infinitely better than a rookie. So I feel like it would have to be a 1. If it's not,
Yeah, I would
then-
expect it to be a 1 for sure.
yeah. Wow. Well,
So yeah, did he clip?
I think he cleared it.
Oh, nice.
Man.
You can just see the star underneath. Um,
Yeah.
so I understand the 21 points on an X-wing, not wanting to see 5 of them in the game, like from the base of how they designed the game with.
Mm-hmm.
Totally got it. Great. The biggest, so this goes back into, and I've had debates and arguments with lots of people, mostly on the internet, and I'm sure you understand how well that went. When you do pricing for a game, and you look at what is competitive in a meta, those two things are vastly different things, and
Mhm.
you don't price for what's good in the meta, right?
Mhm.
Because that shifts. Like the what's popular, what's powerful is going to move based on what else is being played, timings, all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So everyone wants to complain about the rookie being just straight up worse than the B wing. The rookie is straight up worse than the B wing because we've had the game shift to a more offensive nature from the point of when they came out.
Mhm.
Like when the original game was released, like the Tempest and the Rookie were mirrored ships, right? It was just the Tempest was the defensive ship. You got evade actions, you had that extra evade die, but you didn't put out as much offense. We had this hard shift, and you heavy laser cannon turrets, Phantoms having 4 dice native, lots of other things that throw big dice numbers. You can't pay like the amount of money or the amount of points you're paying for agility 2 on an X-wing sucks because agility 2 doesn't defend you well enough.
Mhm.
5 shields on a B-wing defends you, right?
Mhm.
Like you're not going to get one shot out of the air on a B-wing as often as you will an X-wing. That's the big problem. That's not saying the X-wing's bad. It's just saying the hyper offensive nature of what people are building right now is not favorable.
Yeah, you have to be able to survive a one shot from Whisper.
Right. Or you have to be able to survive a one shot from any 3 dice based group. I mean, I've one shot multiple X-wings with Sunter before. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it happens. I distinctly remember the Galactic Cup Finals 8 match. I one shot Luke Skywalker with Draw Their Fire,
Hmm.
which was a pretty ridiculous turn. So like that's where the X-wing suffers presently. It's not that the X-wing inherently is bad. It's that a rookie pilot at 21 points is not. It's paying points for defense that it's not using in the offensive nature of the game. And Major Juggler's talking to chat. I will agree that it's overcosted by 1 point, but I feel like it's overcosted by 1 point in the sense that they don't want 5 of them in the game.
Right, which maybe it's a mistake. I mean,
Yeah.
I think if I get 5, I would.
I feel like if people, I'm not saying they should or would ever do this, but if they just came out right now and said X-wings are all 1 point, I really don't think the majority of people have a major gripe with that. I'm not saying that's what they should do, and I'm sure they won't do it, but I'm just saying I feel like most people probably, because I mean, if you compare a rookie to a Tempest right now,
Well,
it's not
sorry
even
to interrupt.
close. The Tempest like absolutely annihilates it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
got
no, I
yeah.
agree.
We got
So-
Vader's coming in.
Yeah, he is. He didn't take my advice with.
I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah. Because now Chirano is going to be stuck behind him, and Chirano is not going to be able to boost. If he might be able to get a range 3 shot on Vader, but he wants to be able to boost into range 2. And I don't think Vader's going to be in his way, so I don't think he can.
Yeah, maybe he's gonna barrel roll Vader.
He could
Yeah.
create space.
And maybe he's thinking if he rolls left, can he get out of Oiken? No, probably not. Left back? No.
He'll be just in.
So in chat, we're talking about with the way the dials on the new ships, X-wing isn't fair, and that a better dial would, like, not even a better dial would make the X-wing playable. Like, I hate that argument because the X-wing has like a top third dial in the game.
It's a good dial.
Like, it has an awesome dial. It doesn't have post-action movement or post-movement movement.
Right, and it's a built-in engine upgrade, in my opinion.
I guess, but then I feel like it's a better A-wing, right? Like, it's just better than the A-wing at that point.
Mm-hmm. True. Poor X-wing.
And so the X-wing suffers the same problem that the A-wing or the TIE Advance suffered, right? Like the rookie X-wing and the red X-wing, you don't get enough for what you're paying for them in the present meta. Like they're not going to live long enough to deal the damage they need to. But guess who does? Biggs is still totally worth 25 points. Like Biggs will always be worth 25 points. Wedge is still really good.
Yeah, both
Like
they're
native
the two.
PS9,
They're the two best. Maybe Tarn
right?
with R7.
Yeah, and Tarn with R7 is
Yeah,
a very good ship. Like, yeah, Tarn R7, he's 25 as well, right? With the R7
he
droid.
is. Yes.
Yeah, like three ships make it stupid hard to do anything to the X-wing because anything you do to a rookie or to a red buffs those guys like naturally.
But again, I mean that's what a lot of guys argued about the advanced. Is they say, well, if we give the now it's going to make Vader broken,
I
but that's what they
how
did.
many
So.
how many Vader we see two Vaders in the top tier tournament online, and how many Vaders were being flown the
Yep.
entire like as soon as that title dropped, everyone was like, oh hey, this is pretty good, yo. Um, no, I so in the chat, I totally agree that a one hard turn does make a top tier dial. Um, and you see that on interceptors. We're going to ignore the fact that the Falcon, the YTs have a one hard turn, which is an absolutely stupid thing and one of the most atrocious mess ups in this entire game.
It is weird. It just doesn't
Is
make.
that a freighter outturns a goddamn X-wing?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, so think of everything that has a one hard turn that can actually use it. You've got TIE fighters, you have TIE interceptors, you don't have bombers,
Now has.
you mostly don't have defenders. Um,
Phantom.
yeah, the Phantom has it.
B-Wing's
So you,
got it for red.
yeah, the B wing or the so it's a red on the B wing, which so it has it, but it's not great.
Yeah.
Juno.
Yes, sure. There will be some advanced, or but like for when you look at those number of ships in the broader spectrum of all of the ships that are in the game, like the X-wing's dial is fantastic. Like it's if you put them all, if you gave them a dial ranking system, right, and 100 being the A-wings dial, and 0 being the shuttles dial, I would say the X-wing is like a 66,
Hey
67.
guys, sorry to interrupt, but Tex finally finished deliberating and
Oh,
decided
he did roll? He rolled.
that was what 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, I think I called that.
Well,
Yeah. And I say sometimes I do not have the stamina to watch his games.
It's the this is one of those games that I'm glad I have multiple monitors in my desktop setup, so I can have other things, can have other conversations going on.
He says, don't
Uh,
think this is going to work. I'm wondering what he was thinking. Was he hoping to get out of range of Vader there? Is that what he was thinking? I can't imagine that, because they're pretty much... He's sticking out farther than Oiken. What was he...
He's thinking about the boost. He's worried the boost is not going to clear.
yeah,
Clear Vader's arc?
It's
no,
going to clear Vader. He's worried that Rear Iron Chapel will not be able to engine upgrade past Vader,
Oh.
and he won't be able to. He's right.
I'm kind of
well, it
surprised
also
he
won't matter
didn't...
because he's stressed.
Oh, yeah, he's stressed anyway.
Oh
So
yeah.
he clipped the debris field.
Oh yeah.
Man, Blair, did you see my last Reddit Cup game?
Tonight, or
No,
the actual...
no,
game?
that the one that didn't happen tonight. No, it was last week. I caused I caused 2 damage from the same debris field,
Oh, wow.
like in this on the same turn. It's like, really? Come on.
Oh,
Oh, he did a 3 turn,
wow.
not a 2 turn. Aha.
Oh, he's
Ha. Okay, this all makes sense now.
Yeah, that's what I
said,
was thinking. I was like, well, why would he
oh,
roll
Morgan, you
right?
should have.
I was thinking he should have rolled left, but now, yeah. And I think
Thanks. I knew it wasn't that bad.
that
So now
boost probably will make it now, I think.
yeah, he's got the boost. That's interesting. I think that Tex basically kind of put himself to sleep there.
Yeah, that would have been all road just about. It checks for a lock on Oiken. Yep.
No, refields do not make you skip the perform action step in the base rules. They cause you to be stressed. If you can deal with that stress, such as Tycho, or my personal favorite is to move it to Yor, then you can take your action as normal. Which is why I've been running Yor a lot lately, and been very happy. the biggest pains that I've had in this game are people causing me stress on my defenders or push the limit fells, and Yor makes that all go away.
You got
This,
range 2 on Vader?
Looks like
yeah,
it.
he's just clipping it.
Yeah, he does not want to split his fire here, but same token,
He's got to shoot Vader with Rear Admiral.
Well, yeah,
'cause
this is
he's
that situation that Star was talking about earlier, is that this could be a spot where if he goes at Vader and forces him to use the token, then he could potentially just go at Oiken. But do you want to do that though? Because he doesn't have pred, and he's not gonna be able to use his ability. So I feel like
right.
probably just gonna go at Vader with both. I would think.
Yeah. And Oiken actually has got some defense chops now with and the evade.
And I think that might be through the debris too, from Chirano.
Uh-huh. He's gonna go with Vader.
Oiken turtled up. That is pretty awesome. I'm looking that up, Cabby. He's saying in chat that the debris fields say to follow all the normal obstacles as from like the normal rulebook. My guess would be it means for shooting obstruction.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
It does. At least that's why I've been playing it. Hope it does.
Right. I totally agree. Let me get to the.
Oh, I shouldn't have Oiken.
Wow.
He just doesn't want to split his fire.
Yeah.
Yep. 3v2.
Yeah.
Close.
I think that's through.
Oh man.
Wow.
Here comes double focus.
Oh.
Oh jeez.
You would. And now
Now Gunner, right?
I think you just take it, because then you can.
That's- but it-
Vader's gonna shoot at Oiken, so I think you just take it and save the evade for Vader.
Oh, and you stop the Gunner, but that's a crit. It's so like
But
if
you're
it
gonna
was
take
any
a
other
crit
thing.
from Vader as well
That's
from
true.
the ATC. So
Yeah, that's true.
Thinking music.
Uh, okay. I'm not seeing the debris field in the FAQ. Maybe I will. Official tournament rules. He burns it. Here, I take the hit. Save that for Vader's shot.
Yeah.
So on happier news of the FAQ that came out, since I stand by my I don't like the Phantom change, but that's fine. But apparently enough people do, so people with their wallets wins out. The change to escalation list building is fantastic.
You know, I didn't really mind that, to be honest. I played a super dash in the escalation tournament, and yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe if I played more, I would have agreed with it, but I felt like,
If you run up against a 60-point Han, it's almost impossible to beat.
huh.
It's just such an obnoxious list to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you want to run anything that's not like geared at killing it. You know what I mean? Like if you're wanting to run any other style of list, you just don't have time.
Yeah.
Because realistically, like I want to bring Fell, right? So I have like a 34-point Fell or a 35-point Fell. If I want a chance at killing Super Han or like a really fat Han, like I have to not bring anything else because I don't have time to kill him. You know what I mean? Like if he kills one TIE fighter and then runs for the entire match, I
Yeah.
lose.
Well, in a timed, yeah, I get that. Okay, so
2 crits. Do I even have? They have the rules for. Do we have the rules for debris fields? Someone find the rules for debris fields and link that to me in chat. I'm apparently not capable of doing that. Ouch. That's a pretty brutal roll.
Evaded.
Oh, he gets the gunner now. I'm surprised he burned the target lock there. Oh, man.
ooh.
Jeez. He predatored to 1, right?
He did.
Even still. Brutal. Oh, damn it.
Hmm.
That was a lot of shooting for only 2 damage.
Yep.
So we're going to see another round of hurt, and then they'll swing back and do it all over again.
Yeah, now. What are you doing with Hoiken? See.
3 forward.
Well, I'm wondering if a 3 bank is gonna bump Chirino. Do you want to bump Chirino?
Sure.
But you kind of want to use Oiken to screen for Vader, because Vader's got to do a green, and you don't want to bump with Vader. So
Yeah.
you want to try to potentially screen for him so he can do a 1 left bank, and maybe take an action or 2 actions.
I think a 3 left bank will clear, but it'll get in the way of Morgan's Vader.
Mm-hmm.
You could do a 3 hard left
Uh-huh.
and try to block the other Vader.
Yep.
Okay. After finding the debris fields, I would argue that so you have moving into and through obstacles, and so you have the 2 like numbers there. Like, so it's number one. This is there from the original core rulebook for asteroids. So execute the maneuver as normal, but skip the perform action step. The player rolls one attack die. The ship then suffers any damage or critical rolled C suffering damage. The debris clouds, basically, they are obstacles as described in the core rulebook with the following exceptions. Those 1 and 2 should be a direct replacement for that 1 and 2. So execute the maneuver as normal, but assign a stress token to that ship after the check pilot stress set step, and then roll one attack die on a critical hit result, suffer 1 critical damage. Because they're basically like, it's that same 1 and 2. Like, I feel like that's the exact verbiage that it would need to be. It's page 2 of the FA, or page 4 of the FAQ, and then page 20 of the rulebook. Now, granted, local TOs can rule things how they want. I specifically sat down at that 2v2 tournament I was talking about at Adepticon and explained how Dauntless works, because it was like right after I had learned about it, but it was before the FAQ came out to really set the wording up properly. And my opponents were like, "Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's how it works." And then we got into it, and he like wanted to do this, to do the incorrect. Basically, he wanted to reveal a green, lose the stress, and then it's Dauntless. I was like, "Well, no, remember we talked about this. That's not how that works." And then the TO was like, "Well, no, that's how Dauntless works." And I had to eventually like pull up the FAQ on my phone, be like, "Here's the actual steps. There is a step thing here." So that would be my argument. Now, I mean, that is a good. I feel like that's something that would be good to be added to the FAQ in there. That's the direct replacement. But I feel like that's how they're supposed to work.
So the argument is, do you still get an action on debris even if you're not stressed?
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
either A, can take take actions while stressed, or B, you can lose the stress somehow. Could you perform your action?
Yeah, because it says execute maneuver as normal, but assign a stress to that ship after the check pilot. So by saying after the check pilot stress, I would interpret that as immediately afterwards.
Yeah,
And
so
then,
you basically you execute maneuver, check pilot stress, perform action.
yeah, because perform action comes after that. So yeah, I would say you can too.
Yeah, the argument was that it says debris clouds are obstacles as described in the core rulebook with the
Yeah.
following exceptions. So, but yeah, no, I would definitely
Hey guys, quick question: if he rams both ships simultaneously, does he do 1 damage on each ship?
where's the FAQ?
I believe, yeah, I believe they mentioned
feel-
that and said yes, you can. Well, you got the FAQ right
I was
here.
like, I have the FAQ
Yeah.
open. Okay.
And assuming he doesn't move next turn.
Yeah, like they both bump weaken. Then I'm pretty sure you can. I felt like I read that somewhere.
I don't know. This is also one of those, like, if, for example, Morgan had that question, right? It's like, oh, I want to double bump with Huyken next turn, so you don't want to ask that question if you're
Yeah.
not sure on it. It totally like predicts what you're
Yep.
gonna do, right?
Right. Well, one of the players may or may not have just asked me this question.
Oh, fair enough. Drop bombs. I'm not seeing it in the FAQ anywhere. Chat? Anybody know? Yes, damage on each. Only possible with parallel bases. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would think so.
I don't think you necessarily have to be parallel though, because like
Down by Dauntless, he said.
And that's just 1 damage to each ship.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's
So
what I
on
guess.
in the FAQ it says Loiken. It refers to page 5. It says touching multiple ships. A ship can end its maneuver touching multiple ships. If a ship overlaps 2 ships and its own base ends its maneuver touching both ships, it is overlapped after moving backwards along the template. The overlapping ship is considered to be touching both overlapped ships, and both overlapped ships are touching it.
We're more thinking if he positions into a way that both run into him, and then he next turn basically stalls himself to where he hits
Yeah.
both of them. It's so that way you could get there. They could
Yes.
all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
Right.
He's gonna run into both.
Him with Oiken, and then the other guy doesn't move, and
Yep.
next turn he gets damage again.
Yeah. The thing is, yeah, Tex is in a bad spot because he's got to either go straight or bank right to clear that stress. He can't. He certainly can't bank left. So he's either got to just hard turn left or right and keep the stress, or just go right into that. And I think Morgan could easily one left bank with Vader, and then like do a barrel roll right to block any straight move by Cheernode to protect Vader, and then also probably line up a good shot against Texas Vader.
Well, but we're talking about right now if Oiken jumps like a 3 left bank
Yeah.
or a 3 left turn, right? Like just puts himself right in there.
But then if he
Like,
does
they're not
that,
gonna be able to move.
it worries. The worry is that Vader won't have room to do a green move. Then he would bump into the back of Oiken, which you really don't want to happen.
You could just 2 forward with Vader.
So I'm gonna be right back.
Like if Oiken does a 3 left turn,
A 3 left turn, yeah, that would be good.
get that out of the way, I think. Yeah, Rat could hard left. Well, so he doesn't want a hard left because he wants to get the Yasani evade,
Yeah.
but
So he really
the
has to
question-
go straight, but or a 2 bank right, but
yeah, both
It's gonna-
I feel like all those are bad.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's taking a bio break. I will be right back.
You know, one thing that's telling about looking at these lists, not only the 2 nearly identical makeups, but if you can't see from looking at Tex's, but these are both engine upgrades. So not only has he stacked them on each of his ships, but if you look at Morgan's, it's the one upgrade all 4 ships have. So any of you younger players looking at what some of the more experienced guys like to run, I know everyone knows theorists will put an engine upgrade on motherfucking anything. For 4 points, when I first started out, I looked at that as, wow, 4 points, is that really worth it just to be able to boost? But yeah, nowadays it's such a positional game. You find that, especially with ships that are going to be out there a long time and last a long time, it just really helps to have it. Tex is still thinking, well, I think you gotta just go forward with Tex. Because, okay, you don't get an action. That's not the worst thing. You're in a furball here either. You're gonna get a ranged shot, a range 1 shot on one of these guys. There's no way you can bump into both of them. You're still gonna get Gunner. You're still gonna get his ability to change a focus to a crit. And you're gonna get your Eson. If you 2 left turn, well, now you're just running away from them and leaving your Vader potentially in a bad spot. And you're still stressed, and you're not going to get Eson. That's the big thing, is not get... You really